Rico was a cheerful 5-year-old boy who loved to play pranks on his demon friends. However, one day at school they treated him poorly because of his grandfather, the former Supreme Commander. After that incident, Rico felt alone and sad. Little did he know he was about to awaken his true power and become the leader of 10,000 demons. Riku, another 5-year-old boy, was seen as weak and useless. He was the third heir of the Nura clan, so one day he witnessed a young girl with black hair stab his father with a dull sword. Before being killed, the girl looked back at Riku and gave him a sinister smile. Riku then gazed at a Yamabuki rose that bloomed but bore no fruit, only blooming 3 years later. At that time, Riku was the young master of the Nura house, a joyful boy who loved to prank his friends. His pranks were similar to those of his grandfather, the Supreme Commander. His main accomplices were Otobo and Kabo, the Nura house's assault officers. A small girl named Owawa accompanied Riku to school in a human disguise. One day, Riku asked his grandfather, Nurin, if he could take on his title as the third heir. His grandfather told him to wait until he became more like a yokai. Riku promised to become a great yokai leader just like him. At school, Riku praised his grandfather, saying he was the supreme commander of the yokai. He was unaware that his grandfather had a reputation for sneaking into people's homes and eating their food, causing trouble in the process. The other children dismissed yokai as old fairy tales. Later, his grandfather took him to a yokai council meeting where Riku was excited to see so many powerful beings. The meeting aimed to name the third heir of the Nura clan. Lord Gago suggested Riku as a potential candidate because he was the most notorious yokai, responsible for the disappearance of many children. This was the first time Riku learned of such evil deeds, which disturbed him. The council praised Gagos for his actions and declared him the yokai virtue. Even Riku's grandfather was proud of him, which was shocking for Riku. But Gagos was not the right choice for the position. Riku's grandfather put Riku forward as the third heir. So the yokai began to argue, stating that although Riku had the bloodline, he was still just a child. Gagos was furious that a small child was chosen over the embodiment of evil. He controlled his anger while Riku stayed silent. When his grandfather asked why he wasn't happy, Riku expressed his uncertainty about wanting the role. The 72 groups of the Nura clan made up 10,000 yokai, who would be under Riku's command. However, Riku had no idea how evil the yokai were, and learning this made him reluctant to accept the position. He told his grandfather he didn't want it. Riku told his grandfather that if he became the third heir, he would be hated more at school and that he was nothing like him. He ran away from the council meeting. One evening, Karazu Tangu, one of Nurin's advisors and a loyal follower of the Nura clan, came looking for him and brought him back to the mansion. On the way, Riku asked if he was a human. Karasu had a human mother and grandmother, but a quarter of his blood was from the Supreme Commander. This disappointed Riku. Upon arriving at the mansion, he watched the news report about a landslide in Yukio town that had buried an elementary school bus in a tunnel. His friends were on that bus, and there were no rescue efforts underway. Riku felt compelled to help, but assisting humans was against the yokai code, which made him furious. White smoke started to surround him as his voice changed and his hair turned white and longer. This transformation shocked the yokai. Riku knew that if he looked human, no one would listen to him, but if he became a demon, he could lead them. His yokai blood began to boil, as he had inherited a quarter of the Supreme Commander's blood, so this gave him the right to lead. Meanwhile, Gagos and his army were preparing to attack the children, who trembled with fear as Gagos approached the bus. Riku rushed in and attacked him with a sword. Gagos started to bleed, astonished that he was being beaten by a child despite being one of the most feared yokai. Riku recognized Gagos' terrifying presence but refused to let the yokai enjoy killing the weak. He declared that he would become the third heir and lead them all, sending a message to yokai everywhere that he was now the Lord of Pandemonium. Gagos opposed him, so Riku killed him in front of everyone. Dharma, a board member of the Nura clan and an advisor to Nurin, witnessed the event and understood what it meant to be the Lord of the Night, someone who could inspire awe even among humans and truly embody fear. The children on the bus were scared yet saw Riku as a hero. Riku's body collapsed, transforming back into his human form in an instant. 4 years later, people questioned the Supreme Commander about how long he would act as the substitute. Nurin believed no one could lead the 10,000 warrior demons of the 72nd Nura clan better than his grandson. However, the council wasn't convinced since Riku had only shown his hidden demon form once in 4 years. One board member, Juki, said that true fear came from a demon hiding their true power. He believed that once Riku grasped that power, the day of true fear would arrive. One day, Zen came to visit Riku. Zen was a poisonous bird known for making medicines and was a childhood friend and sworn brother to Riku. He hadn't kept in touch with the family for some time and came to see the third commander. Juki informed Zen that Riku had not yet ascended to command, and whenever the subject was brought up, Riku grew sour. When Riku came home from school, he was happy to see Zen. Zen apologized for not attending the general meetings, but Riku dismissed those meetings as events for old demons. Zen told Riku that he shouldn't speak like that, as he was meant to become the master of all demons. Riku replied that he couldn't inherit the position because he was a human, which upset Zen. He started scolding Riku for being foolish. If Riku kept thinking that way, the leaders wouldn't know who would become the third commander. Riku insisted that it would be strange for a human to take that role. Zen, frustrated, said he wasn't going to stick around for someone like Riku. Due to his anger, Zen began to cough and showed signs of weakness. Later, Riku was angry with his grandfather for making Zen come all that way, especially when Zen wasn't supposed to move around. If Riku thought his grandfather was terrible for this, he wasn't ready to lead the Nura family. A giant snake named Hayo took Zen away because of his declining health. He warned Zen that the Nura family was going to fall because of Riku's foolishness. Zen mentioned that the Zeni group owed a debt to the Nura family because they had weak bodies. The only one who accepted them as decent demons was Nurin. The Nura family had many financial supporters, such as the Dharma Alliance and the Zeni group, and they were responsible for protecting many demons from the sea and mountains in Japan. Now Zen believed that Riku becoming the third commander would lead to the family's downfall. IQ quickly told Zen that his house would also be destroyed. Hugh felt betrayed by Zen, believing that if Zen rose to a stronger position, he could have a better role, even as a vassal. Zen, however, always prioritized the Nura family. He was not ready to die like that, he still had a mission to complete, but he was too weak and coughing too much to do anything. Suddenly, Hu transformed into a giant snake and attacked Zen, but he was blocked by Karasu Tenon. Riku had come to save Zen in his demon form. He witnessed everything and told Hugh that even if he had 1,000 of Zen's righteousness, he would spare his life with one powerful strike. Riku then cut Hugh in half. Zen, unfamiliar with Riku's demon form, asked who he was, and Karasu informed him it was Riku. Zen was shocked. Riku declared that he would succeed to the title of third commander. Karasu thought it was a waste, believing that by morning Riku would return to his human form and forget everything. At the general meeting, Nurin announced that the purpose was to strengthen the family. He declared Riku's candidacy as the third commander. This came as a surprise, as Riku had previously taken things lightly. Now he was ready to take the position and thanked everyone for coming to the meeting on this fortunate day, known as Tenki Ijitsu. He apologized for addressing them from such a high position, but Nurin Riku accepted the role of the third commander. A board member informed Nurin about an incident in the Monster Cat territory. He suspected it was another rogue group mimicking the Kuso group, so he didn't think it was a big deal and assured that it big deal. However, the clan soon discovered Hugh and 9 other members dead in the forest. This was shocking, because Hugh was known for his strength, but had been easily defeated. At school, Riku noticed Karasu Tenon looking hurried and upset. Later, Riku learned that his grandfather was missing. Although it was common for Nurin to disappear, the recent events with Hugh raised concerns. Riku decided to investigate as he hurried home from school. On his way, he bumped into a student who seemed to be waiting for him. The student already knew Riku and told him they were similar, young and full of talent. He claimed he would gather more fear than Riku. Riku was confused by this encounter. Meanwhile, Riku's human friend, Kana, was being harassed by a student named Inugami, who had a tongue like a dog. Before Inugami could do anything more, another student called him over. As they walked away, they were surrounded by the 7 pilgrims, the leaders of the Shikoku 88 demon gods, known for the famous 88 holy places in Shikoku. In a meeting at the mansion, they discussed the chaos caused by a group Riku recognized as the 7 pilgrims. He wondered if they could have killed Hugh and the others. While they weren't sure, it was a possibility. The threat was that humans were still unaware of the existence of demons, but with this group causing havoc, that could change soon. They asked Riku about their next steps. The student, along with the 7 pilgrims, stood atop a building under construction and discussed their plan. They felt they had finally reached a point where their dreams could become reality. With Nurin missing after the battle with Muchi, it was the perfect opportunity to attack the Nura family. Rumors about strong fighters in the family still circulated, and the Takegami were feared, providing support for the Nura family. The student, who seemed to be their leader, said they could begin by crushing the Takegami. They planned to create chaos in Yukio town to draw the attention of their enemies. Inugami, resembling a bird and wielding fire powers, arrived in town to instill fear. He breathed fire in a park, causing destruction and panic among the humans. Ora, an onmyoji from the Kane house who specialized in combat, managed to subdue the fire and faced Inugami head-on. However, Sarasu, the 3 crows from the Nura family, arrived just in time, causing Inugami to flee. Later, Kana informed Riku about the situation and told him she believed in the existence of demons. The student praised the 7 pilgrims for the destruction they had caused, and mentioned that their next target was the Nura family's main headquarters. Inugami was in charge of the damage, and in one of the rooms several board members were discussing their plans. Hyu's son Shaw grew angry at the leaders for their inaction. He wanted to avenge his father, even if it meant using sheer willpower. With Riku absent, Hitsun tried to motivate Shaw, expecting nothing less from Hyu's son. Riku then entered and apologized for making them wait. He informed them that they had arrived early due to the matter's importance for the family. Riku firmly told everyone not to act alone, emphasizing that charging ahead would not be tolerated. The Nura family must face their enemies together. He also told Shaw not to seek revenge. Shaw tried to argue, but Riku insisted that this was a critical time. Riku insisted that they should not be divided, as that was exactly what the enemy wanted. Although he desired revenge, he understood it must be taken at the right moment. Hitatsum asked how they would proceed, and Riku had a plan. They would strengthen the territory's defenses. Meanwhile, Inugami was eavesdropping on their meeting, looking to sabotage their plans. He attacked a group of weaker yokai near a pond, killing one of them. The chaos outside alerted Riku and the others, who rushed out to see what was happening. Inugami, in his dog form, watched them with hatred from behind a tree. He then dashed inside the mansion, wreaking havoc so quickly that no one could catch him. Riku followed him to the front of the mansion, where Inugami met with his team. The student introduced himself as Tanuki Tsuki, the leader of the 88 Shikoku demon gods. His father was the head of the 800 Tanuki houses. Riku asked why he was causing this destruction, and Tsuki explained that he wanted to gather more fear than Riku to rise above him. Before leaving, he ordered Inugami to burn down the mansion. Inugami unleashed a fire breath, igniting the roof. Riku stopped anyone from pursuing them. Otobo, despite his great strength, couldn't put out the flames. However, Kappa, whose domain was water, managed to quell the fire using water from the pond. The next day, all the yokai helped fortify the mansion's defenses. Inugami and Tsuki discussed the panic they had caused and noted that they still hadn't discovered the actions of Sodoi-sama. Once they did, it would be too late. Sasami briefed the council about a recent murder of the Matai Obi and 3 of their bodyguards from the O clan. This incident occurred during a time when the guards were light, as the guard was returning home from the main house when they were ambushed. The council gasped, realizing this meant someone inside was aiding the enemy. Riku calmed them, stating it wasn't guaranteed that this was the case. He left the investigation to Karasu and ordered everyone to keep watch. Meanwhile, Ura sensed a demonic aura in Yukio town. Suddenly, an old woman walked by her, and when Ura called out to her, the lady was offended by being called an old woman. This provoked her, and she used her hair to attack. Ura quickly defended herself, knowing she was an onmyuji, and wanted to escape without causing a scene. As she ran down the street, she disappeared around the corner. Ura tracked the demonic aura and eventually arrived at the Nura house, where she met up with her classmates who were training. Riku asked if she had come to join the training camp, but she explained that she was trying to destroy a demon she believed was a Kajari. Riku quickly inquired if she had encountered the Kajari, knowing she was from Shikoku. She recounted her encounter with the demon. Later, Karasu showed Riku shadow images of Kajari Anna. Under Riku's orders, they searched the demonic alleys and found a woman at Biniko's shop. After investigating her, they discovered that she frequently met with the Nura family's lead council members. Riku pieced together that she was likely receiving information from the Shikoku group. Karasu was furious that someone could intrude on their territory and embarrass their members. To deal with her properly, Riku transformed into his demonic form. As Riku walked into the shop, he overheard Hiem sharing important details of the council meetings with Kajari Anna, who was drunk. When Riku reached the front of the shop, he touched a long strand of a woman's hair, which broke under his fingers. Kajari Anna sensed something entering her territory and felt the aura of fear, causing her to tremble. She fled before they could catch her, so Riku ordered his officers to pursue her. So meanwhile, Hiem was brought back to the mansion where the leaders scolded him for sharing the family's secrets with Anna. Riku understood there was no ill intent, but Hiem should not have openly shared that information. Hiem became furious, and everyone blamed him, believing the family's trouble stemmed from their weakness. While walking, Ura felt the demonic aura again. Kajari Anna was back for revenge. Ura lured her to an abandoned place to minimize damage to the town. Kajari Anna asked why Inanagi was working with a demon ally. Ura denied it, claiming she would never do something so wicked. But enough small talk, Kajari Anna was determined to show her the power of one of the 7 pilgrims. Ura stood her ground, sworn to defeat all evil spirits. Karasu Tongyu informed Riku that they had found Kajari Anna engaged in battle. They all rushed to the scene. Ura was using her Shikami to counterattack, but due to her injuries, she felt weak. Taking advantage of this, Kajari Anna wrapped Ura in her hair, trying to suffocate her. However, she was interrupted by Riku's immense strength. which intimidated Kajariana. Riku's mere shadow cast a powerful presence, cutting her hair, which was her weapon. He told her he wouldn't kill her so she could relay a message to Yuki, telling him not to let a woman do his dirty work. Kajariana went to Tsuki and explained everything, warning him that Riku was no ordinary opponent. This excited Tsuki, as there was now a reason to be in Yukio town. Tsuki was waiting for Riku to realize he was in his grasp, so he asked the 7 pilgrims to continue supporting him, and they happily agreed. Back at the mansion, Karasu wondered if Tsuki's mission was to destroy the Nura family. It was clear that family members were being attacked one by one. However, as Riku contemplated this, it didn't make sense. If they wanted to destroy the family, the Shuko demons would have attacked them all at once. Since that wasn't happening, it suggested they had other objectives. Meanwhile, the paranormal investigation squad was at the mansion examining the destroyed sites in town. They noted that all the sites had a shrine as the main target. Riku was surprised by this information and realized it had been happening rapidly. In the middle of the Shuko Mountains, Nurin visited the shrine where the leader of the noble Shuko demons resided. The shrine housed the 108 gods of Shuko and was known as Yamaguchi Rindu. Inugami Jiao, the leader of the 88 Tanuki, was now retired, and Nurin came to meet him. The gatekeeper asked Inugami Jiao if he knew Nurin, to which he replied yes. Back at the mansion, Riku was still focused on uncovering Tsuki's goal. He connected the dots and remembered that when he rushed to Kajari's location, a shrine had been destroyed. Now he understood their objective. Riku gathered everyone and instructed them to split up and protect the shrines that had not yet been damaged. The enemy was likely to create a distraction, but they needed to remain vigilant to prevent further destruction. Riku wanted to protect the Takagami to shake the Nura family at its core. This plan would turn people's beliefs and fears against the Shikoku demons. The leaders were assigned to look after the shrines. Nurin discussed the matter of commanding the gods and how they had both grown old. He brought up the murder of Hugh by a demon named Muchi. Inugami Jiao paled, knowing who was behind it. He explained that Tsuki was the 8th son of his 88th wife and had inherited much of her divine power. Tsuki was trying to gather fear to become the master of all demons, and he aimed to achieve this with the 7 pilgrims. Inugami was particularly dangerous as he used hatred and jealousy as his powers, making him a truly fearsome demon. His hatred for Riku was evident, and Tsuki told him he wanted to keep Inugami as a figurehead, not kill him. However, Inugami reminded him of the Shikoku demon law, the weaklings die. Tsuki smiled, telling Inugami to do as he wished since he didn't need guards or scouts on his way to Riku. Kajariana then stopped him, asking if he would do anything for Tsuki. He explained that it was Tsuki who awakened the power of hatred within him. Back at the mansion, Riku was playing games with his squad while Inugami was watching them with growing anger. He couldn't stand seeing Riku being friendly with humans. Suddenly, they received an email containing vital information. Demons were haunting an abandoned school building. A film projector in the auditorium showed demons when activated. The whole squad got ready to investigate, despite Riku trying to stop them. Distracted by a phone call, Riku didn't notice the squad leave. On the call, Inugami expressed his desire to kill Riku, saying he was hiding in his mansion. He mentioned it would be fitting to kill Riku's close friends, knowing Riku would never allow that to happen. It was the perfect chance to lure him. Riku realized it was a trap. The email had been sent by Inugami. He ran as fast as he could to the abandoned school building, but fortunately, no one was hurt. The boys were in the projector room, so he headed there to see what was happening. As they activated the projector, Inugami's silhouette appeared. He told Riku there was no need to save the demons, as they were destined to become dinner for other demons. Inugami hated Riku for being accepted by both humans and demons while humans would never accept demons. Riku countered that it was not true. He tore the projector apart, stating that humans were the real evil since they treated him like a monster. Inugami considered Riku inferior and his hatred blinded him. Fortunately, the officers of the Nura family arrived and subdued Inugami to prevent any rash actions. Riku thanked his friends for saving him, which only fueled Inugami's anger. He believed that people like Riku were privileged and always protected by others. The hatred he felt transformed him into a ravenous dog. Inugami's backstory was a painful one. He had tried hard to fit into human society, but it was incredibly difficult. They called him names, and girls were scared of him. At that time, Inugami had no idea there was a world filled with demons until one day Tsuki found him. Tsuki invited him to join his comrades, but first, he wanted to test Inugami's worth. They tied him up like a wild animal to see what powers he had. Inugami thought he had no powers, but Tsuki told him that they would have to kill him according to Shikoku law. His will to live and desire to belong transformed him into a powerful dog form that grew stronger with his hatred for people. Tsuki was pleased with this and allowed Inugami to join his team. In the present, Inugami acted like a ferocious dog, attacking only Riku. Before he could deliver a fatal blow, Kubanashi, a friend of Riku, restrained him with his strings. The more Inugami moved, the tighter the strings became. However, blinded by pure hatred, Inugami shouted that Tsuki made him a real demon, believing Tsuki was superior to Riku, who mixed with humans. So Riku tried to reason with him, saying he was being fooled by Tsuki. Inugami knew Tsuki was a deceitful tanuki with a false calm, but he still provided Inugami a place to belong. Riku explained that demons and humans were not superior or inferior, which made Inugami frantic. He broke free from the strings and transformed into his true self, a giant. He began attacking the Nura family members one by one until only Riku was left. As the sun began to set, it was time for the demons to emerge. Inugami hurled Riku hard to the ground, thinking he had killed him, but Riku had stabbed his paw. Riku called Inugami a bad actor and told him to leave the stage. When Inugami attacked again, Riku swiftly cut his forehead. Inugami mistakenly believed that making himself larger would make him more dangerous, but he refused to acknowledge Riku's strength. Inugami fled, and Riku chased him to an old abandoned place where their battle began again. Riku cut him once more, causing Inugami to attack in defense, which left a small abrasion on Riku's eyebrow. With one final move, Riku tore Inugami's dog form apart, transforming him back into a human. Just as Riku was about to kill him, Tsuki appeared, stating he could not let Inugami die yet, as he was an important comrade. This was the first time Tsuki saw Riku's demon form, and he was impressed. Tsuki reiterated that he was going to steal all the fear and become the true leader, but that was for another time. With that, Tsuki left with Inugami. Nurin learned that Tsuki possessed the legendary treasure, the Demon Lord's Gavel. After realizing he had changed, Tsuki no longer saw his comrades as friends but as tools to achieve his goals. Now it was time for the 88 gods of Shikoku to take center stage. Hashi, the name of his katana, meant proof of the supreme ruler, and with it, they would advance. Tsuki was chosen by the katana to be the master of the 88 gods. Nurin and Inugami Jiao discussed a plant called Tusa, which referred to the letter Karaser. 1,000 years ago, a stockkeeper raised an army to usurp the emperor's throne, but tragically lost and was sent to a land called Sanuki. The defeated stockkeeper heard a bush warbler, reminding him of the capital Kyoto. So the bird found it pitiful and wrapped its beak in mausa leaves, silencing its own voice. Inugami named his son Tamasa after this folklore, so he could live a life discerning the shrine, but he changed his name to mean aiming for an imperial throne and began to call himself Tsuki. Now, he was trying to be the master of all demons. The next morning, a crow messenger arrived at the mansion in poor condition. The crow messenger warned everyone about a large army of Shikoku demons, charging through CH-bows, causing panic. Nurin asked Inugami Gabu if Tanuki had ever outnumbered humans. Inugami confirmed this, recalling an event from about 300 years ago when the Tanuki attempted to take over a human castle. So the Tanuki demons were clever and possessed supernatural powers which should have guaranteed their victory, but it did not. The entire demon army was decimated by a single katana, the Demon Lord's Gavel. The blight magic within this weapon was like the word bewitch. When many venomous bugs are mixed in a single pot, they begin to kill each other to survive. The last bug standing is infused with the resentment and desires of the others that died, transforming it into a blight creature. Similarly, the Demon Lord's Gavel held the essence of blight magic, charging it with the resentment of those who had fallen in battle, making it a terrifying weapon. In the council, everyone was shocked to see the enemy getting so close, a situation that hadn't happened in the last 400 years. Zen stated that they had no choice but to follow the third commander and march against the enemy. However, they needed to gauge Riku's intentions first. They learned that Riku was at the mansion's entrance in his demon form. A long and terrifying night was about to begin. Riku, in his demon form, along with the council members, marched towards the enemy. When face to face with the enemy horde, Tsuki was eager to show his true form. He transformed into a vicious demon with long white hair and a white mask, ready to fulfill his dream of instilling fear and taking lives. Tsuki ordered his comrades to sacrifice themselves for him, calling them weaklings. They were ready. Riku walked fearlessly onto the battlefield, while Tsuki, overconfident, thought the battle would end quickly. However, Riku's army followed their young master into the fray. Unnoticed, Riku moved straight towards Tsuki. He was shocked that his army was not attacking him, even though he was right there. In seconds, Riku was on Tsuki, bringing his sword down. Tsuki blocked the strike with his own sword but realized too late that Riku had erased his presence, making it impossible for his enemies to see him. Tsuki was pressured under Riku's sword, and as he buckled, his army hesitated to help him, intimidated by Riku's strength. Suddenly, Yosun, a night sparrow known for creating complete darkness around her opponents, caught Riku off guard. In an instant, he was enveloped in pure darkness. Tsuki ordered his men to kill Riku, but Riku could see nothing. Desperate, he cast a spell, entering a serene state of mind that turned the nearby yokai to ashes. Seizing the moment, Tsuki stabbed Riku in the side, urging him to abandon the light and join him in the darkness to become a complete being. However, Riku refused, declaring that the light shines brighter because darkness exists. This meant that Tsuki had to kill. As Tsuki brought down his sword, Riku's friend Owawa rushed to his rescue, using her staff and powers to freeze the sword's blade. She volunteered to fight Tsuki instead. Tsuki ordered Yosuzume to demonstrate her loyalty by enveloping Owawa in darkness. However, Owa managed to freeze one of Yosuzume's eyes, catching her off guard. When Yosuzume attempted to attack, Owawa seized the opportunity to use her cursed snowstorm, driving Yosuzume away. The darkness vanished, and Riku was back on his feet, ready to attack Tsuki. It appeared they were losing the battle. Tsuki had anticipated this. He knew his army was weak and would not be a match for Riku. To ensure his followers served a purpose, Tsuki unsheathed another sword, the Demon Lord's Gavel. He began to kill the weak members of his own army, startling everyone. This shocking display of power caused the sword to transform, absorbing the essence of the fallen comrades and feeling alive. Riku's allies informed him that the sword could annihilate demons and allow its user to take over the world, absorbing the powers of all demons it cut. Riku saw how the sword grew stronger with each kill. Meanwhile, Yura found herself at a crossroads with Tsuki, who was slaughtering everything in his path. Tsuki captured Yura, but Riku quickly came to her aid, smashing half of Tsuki's mask. Tsuki's eyes were filled with arrogance as he sought to surpass his father, believing humans had taken over after the war 300 years ago. The demon army had once been led by Inugami Jubu, and Tsuki thought his father had failed. He wanted to prove himself to the world, holding onto the katana that had once cut his father's fangs. With his ever-growing power, the demons began to follow him, and this was what real fear meant to Tsuki. He believed his fear was greater than that of the Nura family's supreme commander. Before Tsuki could attack, Kubanashi intercepted the sword with his strings. Everyone gathered around Riku. Kana, watching from the side, was defenseless. This was the perfect opportunity for Inugami to attack her, wanting to demonstrate that humans and demons could never coexist. However, before he could harm her, Tsuki slashed Inugami. Inugami was in disbelief, but Tsuki needed his powers to ensure the Demon Lord's Gavel was complete. He ordered the sword to awaken so he could rule the world through fear. The sword pulsed with intense, fear-inducing power, but Riku remained calm. As Tsuki ran to attack Riku, he dodged and soared into the sky. The clash of swords continued high above, with everyone who could intervene now gone. Riku declared he had the support of his comrades, but Tsuki disagreed, insisting that one on top does not need allies. Tsuki aspired to stand atop the corpses of all demons, while Riku aimed to awaken Tsuki's eyes, which were filled with arrogance. As dawn approached, Riku's comrades worried he would lose his demon form. To counter this, Riku's human and demon forms made a pact. They decided to coexist from now on, protecting both humans and demons. Their souls intertwined. Riku found himself in Tsuki's tight grip, believing he was finished. But with a smirk, Riku reminded Tsuki of the moon shining in the day. This sparked a special power within Riku, and as Tsuki attacked, Riku's body transformed into smoke. As Tsuki swung his sword, Riku felt nothing. The Cuckoo Curse, which means the flower reflected by the moon in the water, allowed him to cut Tsuki's shadow in half. So this act freed all the ghosts of the comrades who had been consumed by the sword, causing Tsuki's horde to break away. Tsuki realized he didn't need to surpass his father. He needed to overcome himself. Now defenseless, Tsuki prepared to attack Riku again, but Nurin appeared and blocked the strike. Tsuki, still out of control, wanted to use the sword once more, dreaming of standing atop his father's corpse. He launched himself into the air, where his father was held by two crows. Riku attacked, causing the sword to fall from Tsuki's hand. Riku told him that, like others who followed him out of fear, Tsuki had betrayed them. At least he could carry the one demon who truly loved him. Inugami Jubu jumped in and picked up Tsuki, but with great love, he bowed before Riku and Nurin, shocking everyone. He asked them to forgive his foolish son and promised to make him atone for his actions. Later, everyone gathered at the mansion. Riku and his grandfather sat at the head of the table to celebrate the beginning of the young master's wild horde, marking a new great phase for the Nura family. Yura, blindfolded, practiced her water shots but felt slightly off and knew she needed to improve. Riku visited her, worried since he hadn't seen her at school lately. When she asked if he was alone, he replied that everyone else was looking for her. Suddenly, Yura's older brother stumbled upon them, looking furious. He reiterated the Onmoji's mission to destroy yokai. Ryuji, who specialized in Shikagami, attacked Riku without warning. Yura pushed Riku aside and demanded to know why Ryuji had attacked. Ryuji asked who Riku was, and Yura told him that Riku was her classmate and close friend. He asked if she didn't know he was a yokai, something she didn't want to believe. He then asked what they would do when encountering a yokai. Using the water around him, he manifested a dog and commanded it to devour Riku. but Yura blocked the attack. Ryuji was shocked that his sister and an onmoji would defend a yokai. Yura asked Riku to tell her he was human, to which he lied, saying yes. She smiled, telling her brother that Riku was not the enemy, which angered Ryuji. Protecting a yokai was against the family's laws. Ryuji was furious that Yura chose Riku over him. Without wasting a moment, he attacked with the dog. Yura blocked the attack with her shikami, but it drained her strength, and she fell. Ryuji gave her an ultimatum: if she wanted to live, she had to return to him. Riku, in his demon form, acted quickly to save Yura from Ryuji. Unable to hold back anymore at seeing one harm their own, Riku set Yura down safely and prepared to fight. Ryuji opened 2 vials, releasing smoke that formed deathly flowers. If touched, these flowers could melt anything. He also created a water structure around Riku called a triangle field, which instantly engulfed him. This technique took years to master, and Yura was shocked Ryuji could perform it. However, Ryu was mistaken in thinking Riku had died. Instead, Riku appeared behind him with a sword. Before Ryuji could react, Riku slashed him, causing him to fall to the ground. Suddenly, Mamoru, a partner of Ryuji, attacked Riku with a shikami, a paper with a chant written on it. The blast knocked Riku down. Yura feared he would be killed and asked who Mamoru was. Ryuji replied that he was her childhood best friend, but now he was a completely changed person, showing no emotion. They planned to kill Riku, but when Ryuji saw the sword Riku was carrying, he was shocked. It was the Nira Maru, an onmoji sword that only cuts yokai. Confused, he ordered Mamoru to kill Riku quickly. Mamoru rushed forward, intending to cast Riku into darkness, but his hands were tied by Kubinashi's strings. The entire area was filled with the army of yokai, known as the Night Parade of 100 Demons, who had come to defend their young master. Ryuji understood this and needed to tread carefully. He asked Riku who he was. Riku replied that he was the young master of the great yokai Yakuza family of East Japan, Nurin's grandson. Mamoru's eyes filled with hate as he lunged to attack Riku again, but Riku's personal guard stopped him. Even Ryuji told Mamoru to stop. Ryuji then delivered some bad news. The mortal enemy of the Kane clan was on the move, led by the great yokai who united all of Kyoto's yokai, Haguroga's son. They had broken the 8 co-barriers maintained by the Kane clan. Ryuji added that the head of the clan, Hyodokine, had brought Mamoru into the clan and ordered Yura back. Hearing the name for the first time, Riku felt immense pressure. Before leaving, Ryuji told Riku to take care of the Nira Maru, but Yura collapsed from her injuries. She was taken back to the mansion for treatment. When she regained consciousness, she ran outside, realizing she was in a yokai mansion on a tree branch beneath the moonlight. She found Riku and asked him to answer whether he was a human or a yokai. Depending on his answer, she would decide to kill him. Riku replied that he was human during the day and a yokai at night, existing as 2 beings in one. This convinced her, and she chose to believe he was a good person, thanking him for all his help. Nurin asked Juki if Ryuji's claims about Haguro Jisun were true. He never imagined hearing her name again after 400 years. During the Kyoto period, 400 years ago, many ambitious young yokai gathered in Kyoto, the center of power since ancient times. They wanted to prove who would reign supreme. Some Kyoto yokai saw the formidable army of Nura and knew they had to become stronger to defeat them. The princess was known for her healing abilities. With just her hands, she could treat any sickness. Her father, a greedy man, profited from her skills, which upset her as she wanted to help for free. An onmoji named Kitsu protected her from evil yokai. He even gave her an exorcist's sword to protect herself, a sword that grew powerful with every yokai it killed. Her young Nurin, who had been watching for some time, fell in love with her beauty and wanted her for himself. One night, he took her to his mansion. Reluctant to go, she hesitated, but he promised to make it worthwhile. He carried her in front of the guards, who couldn't see him because his fear manifested, making him invisible. So that night she enjoyed her time at the mansion with the yokai, whom she referred to as Akashi. Nurin later asked her if she wanted to marry him, confessing that his feelings had grown over time. On the next morning at her home, her father was visited by Kyoto demons who offered him a large sum to take the princess. Thinking he could profit more by keeping her, he refused, angering them. In retaliation, they killed him and kidnapped her. Nurin arrived that night to rescue her but was met with dead guards. A barely breathing guard revealed that she had been taken hostage at Osaka Castle. Nurin immediately recognized it as the home of Haguro Jisun, where all the princesses were brought. At the castle, Haguro Guzun had some magical powers and planned to eat the livers of the princesses, starting with Princess Yo. She called out for Nurin, and suddenly his footsteps echoed as he infiltrated the castle unnoticed. He lunged to attack her, but several guards blocked him. Haguro Jun was unimpressed and introduced herself as the supreme commander of the Nura clan. Nurin declared he was there to rescue his woman. Intrigued, Haguro saw an Akashi coming to save a human for the first time in 100 years. It was an entertaining show for her. Nurin attacked again but was struck by her tails, which inflicted serious injuries. Undeterred, he pressed on, even as one tail impaled him. Bored, Haguro demanded more entertainment, explaining that each of her tails represented a time she had been imprisoned. Haguro stopped her, confused as to why Nurin would go to such lengths for her. He confessed that being with her opened his heart and brought him peace, and he wanted to spend eternity with her. He wished to impress her so she would love him back. This change in his demeanor caught Haguro's attention, marking the beginning of the darkness. Nurin engulfed himself in pure darkness, making it impossible for Haguro to see him. She wondered how her tails could react when they couldn't detect him. He swiftly met her and slashed, causing her yokai energy to escape through the wound. Devastated, she chased after the escaping energy as Nurin pursued her. She ripped out his heart, consuming it to regain her lost energy, aiming to finish him off. However, cursed papers surrounded her. Kyoto had used Shikami Hagon, a technique that drew upon the powers of the 12 ancestral gods to cleanse evil. The 12 gods appeared and bound her with magic, making her weak due to her dwindling yokai energy, which made it easier for them to control her. Kyoto informed Nurin that the sword he used to wound her was crafted by him. He then used it one final time to slash her in half before dying. As she fell, she cursed Nurin's bloodline for all eternity. With Agorogzine defeated, Nurin became the Lord of Pandemonium. Princess Yo tried to reach Nurin to heal his wounds, worried for him. She decided to stay by his side for the rest of her life. Having overcome the Kyoto demons, Nurin was now beside a beautiful wife. She became the mother of Reihan, the second heir. Meanwhile, Riku was having flashbacks of the time when a young lady killed his father. The Kang clan was anxious because Haguro's army was on the move. Riku approached his grandfather and asked if he could go to Kyoto. Nurin's demeanor changed. He was angry that Riku would want to go to his death. Suddenly, he vanished and reappeared in front of Riku, startling him. He then kicked Riku into the pool outside, calling him a fool for not dodging an old man's kick. Nurin warned him that he had a lot to learn or he would be knocked down by the underlings. Riku rose from the pool, in his demon form, visibly angry. If he wanted to go to Kyoto, he would need to draw his sword. Kosu Tomgu, who was passing by, noticed the tension between them. Nurin poked Riku with the back of his sword, moving with the same speed as his kick. Riku didn't have time to register how fast his grandfather was. The battle between Akashi was a competition for fear, and the first rule was that whoever could catch the opponent off guard would win. Victory was within reach. Riku wanted to prove himself, so he swung his sword at Nurin, who easily dodged it. It was time for the Akashi of yore to advance to the next level. Transforming into a shadow, he easily defeated Riku, showing that if Riku went to Kyoto, he would be helpless. Despite this, Riku was determined to go to Kyoto and asked if he could learn the trick. Every time he heard Haguro-Xun's name, he felt agitated because he knew she was responsible for his father's death. She was the one who stabbed him. Nurin wondered if he had been too cautious in raising Riku, and asked Kurasu Tungu to summon the Asho Tono family. When they arrived, Riku had been asleep for 2 days. When he woke up, he found himself in a large pot. But the yokai of the village wondered if he would ever wake up. If he didn't within an hour, he would be eaten. They discussed the heir of the Nura clan and Riku's transformation at night, thinking he was weak. Their leader, Agappa, explained about their hidden village called Tono, located in northeastern Japan, and that Riku would be an apprentice to master the art of fear. At first, Riku rejected the idea because he only wanted to go to Kyoto. However, he soon met the trainers Amo, Ashima, Reira, Dihoku, and Itaku. Itaku pointed out that Riku didn't know how to summon fear, which shocked everyone, considering he was Nurin's grandson and a yokai. Riku insisted he could summon fear and was asked to prove it. Facing Itaku, he remembered his grandfather's advice about calming the heart, a technique called Meishu. When he tried it, he successfully summoned fear and vanished, amazing everyone. Itaku showed Riku how to summon fear using his secret technique, which could destroy the opponent's fear. He concentrated fear into his sickles and used them to cut down surrounding trees, slightly injuring Riku in the process. It was about destroying fear with fear. The history of yokai gave rise to the anti-yokai fighting technique in Tono village called possession, representing the next level of Akashi. Riku asked Itaku to teach him. Meanwhile, a Kyoto yoki named Kidaru and 2 others entered Tono village on a mission to persuade Agappa to join Haguro-jin. They informed him that the seals around the capital would be destroyed in 2 weeks, and they needed soldiers. Agappa refused to help, wanting to remain neutral. As the Kyoto yokai left, they spotted Riku near the river. Kidaru instantly recognized his face, which haunted him. He tried to destroy Riku's fear, but knowing he was a powerful enemy, he asked if he was the son of the princess. Kidaru concluded that Riku was her grandchild. He warned Riku they planned to take over the capital and cut the life thread of the Nura family. Riku's decapitated head would be a gift to Haguro Jizun, and his body would be sent to his grandfather with a declaration of war. Just then, another yokai lunged at Riku, but Itaku arrived in time to cut off the attacker's arm. Itaku warned them they would be killed if they caused trouble in the village. Riku told Itaku to stand down as these were his enemies. He used a technique called koku, making himself undetectable. The yokai attacked again with a powerful spinning move, but their hands passed through Riku's body as if he were smoke. They attacked him repeatedly, but their strikes were useless, leaving them intimidated. Riku's counterattack was so strong it broke through the village's defenses. Nurin, the yokai, was like a flower reflected in the moonlight. Riku explained that this was the invocation koku, a yokai that represents dreams and illusions. The fear it invoked was more dangerous than Kidaru had imagined, which is why he felt he needed to cut through Riku before he could fully understand. However, Riku was trapped in an ice fortress created by Rioraya, which he couldn't escape. To be released, he would have to apologize first. Kidaru, knowing he didn't want to make Tono an enemy, chose to leave but vowed to remember that they helped Nurin's grandson. Haguro Xun's advisor instructed her on how to extract power from the human liver. He informed her about the 5th seal that would be broken that day. There were a total of 8 seals located in different places that formed a spiral in the streets of the capital. Master Tenai had shaped the seals during the construction of the Edo Castle of yore. This formation had secured 300 years of peace for Kyoto, lasting 400 years with the power of Kyoto, the 13th heir of the Kane clan. But each of the 8 seals was encircled with a powerful mark and had to be broken in order, which would allow Haguro Jizun to wage war on the Onmoji. After winning, she planned to build a castle at the site of the first seal. After witnessing the power of the Kyoto yokai, Riku was motivated to train harder. He had a unique and versatile fear, but needed to practice maintaining his invocation while fighting. One day, during training, Ashama brought bad news. The Onmoji were being wiped out, and Kyoto would soon fall into Haguro Gisun's hands. Riku needed to save his friend Yora from dying, so he approached Agapa to ask for permission to leave. He revealed that he had met Haguro Gisun as a child when he saw his father being murdered. That was the moment Nurin grew weak. Riku wanted to go to Kyoto one last time to break the chain of fate. He asked if anyone wanted to join him, but everyone backed out except for the trainers. They reminded him they never pledged their lives to anyone except those who asked sincerely, which Riku did. He needed all the fighting power he could get. Riku and the Tono members returned to the mansion, where his grandfather asked if he learned anything worthwhile. When Nurin lunged at Riku, he easily dodged it by vanishing. Impressed, Nurin allowed Riku to leave for Kyoto but asked him to bring back some sweets. Riku would be the 3rd heir of the Nura clan, and was advised to meet Kyoto before he departed. So Nurin had arranged for the Nura clan's special strategic yokai airbase, the one and only treasure ship. As the sun rose, everyone aboard expected to transform into their human forms, but they did not due to the huge threat posed by the great tornadoes surrounding each seal. Only one seal was left to be broken, while Haguro Xuzun waited patiently. Upon arriving in Kyoto, Riku and his team were confused by the Tori labyrinth. As they navigated through one of the gates, a stranger who recognized Riku appeared. Riku identified him as an Onmoji, accompanied by Ryuji and Mamoru. Mamoru was curious about the stranger's intentions when suddenly he fired a shot not at Riku, but at the yokai lurking behind him. In response, Ryuji began chanting to cleanse the Ayakashi from Kyoto. His spell successfully banished Haguro Xun's minion, causing the tornado to fade away. With this action, Ryuji effectively restored the seal. Without all 8 seals in place, Kyoto would never know peace. The stranger introduced himself as Kyoto. Riku asked Kyoto how he was. Riku was supposed to break the chain of fate. He remembered Kyoto as the Onmoji prodigy from 400 years ago, who had fought alongside yokai against Haguro Jizun. The powerful spiral seal barrier was created by him. To get inside, the seals had to be broken one by one. Kyoto explained that strong Akashi were locked in 8 locations turned into seal pillars, and the Kane clan was guarding each one. To break the chain of fate, Riku had to join the Kane clan and restore each seal. It should have been Kyoto who did it, but he was dead. Haguro Xun was now going to enter Nija Castle, the last location where it was rumored she had given birth to a child who embodied pure evil. Before that, they had to recall the pillars and stop the yokai. They planned to use Hagan and Nararu to defeat Haguro Xun. Suddenly, a powerful yokai was heard approaching, killing dozens of smaller yokai in its path. This formidable yokai, named Tsushai Gumo, had 4 hands and lightning speed. He quickly reached Riku and announced he was there to fight strong opponents, pointing at a few individuals and challenging anyone brave enough to face him. Riku told his members to step back and declared he would fight Tsuchai Gumo himself. Riku used the secret art Koku, which he had mastered in Tono, to evade detection. However, Tsuchai Gumo's second attack was able to break through Riku's fear, and one kick sent him flying. His fear had no effect. The others rushed to his rescue, but Tsuchai Gumo's attention was solely on Riku. His fist smashed into Riku, causing severe injuries, and everyone thought Riku was done for. Yura thought of intervening, but Kyoto stopped her, explaining that Tsuchai Gumo was too powerful for Riku to defeat. Kyoto had sealed him away centuries ago when he had run amok. He had tricked him and put him to sleep, But Tsuchigumo had not expected to be sealed away for 400 years. Now he seemed ready to destroy everything in sight. After taking a long beating, it was assumed that Riku was dead. Tsuchigumo waited for the next opponent, and it was Owawa. Furious at what Tsuchigumo had done to Riku, she was ready for revenge. Tsuchigumo attacked her with his massive fist, but she was no match for him. The force of his fist sent her flying. Riku rushed to save her, preventing her from falling fatally. She was happy to see him alive before fainting. Riku was so angry that he could only see red. How dare his subordinates get hurt on his watch? If the enemy wanted to destroy the night parade of 100 demons, they would have to do it over Riku's dead body. Tsuchigumo was impressed to see Riku alive, despite his evident fear. He lunged to attack while Riku's injured subordinates watched in awe. Riku's yokai aura had disappeared, meaning he was in his human form. With sheer will, he was determined to fight back. Everyone tried to stop him, but Tsuchigumo was a type of yokai who feared nothing. He could destroy the night parade by himself. However, Riku was able to cut through Tsuchigumo's finger, which was unbelievable. The technique he used was called Neru. Now it looked like Tsuchigumo's attacks were ineffective. Riku was attacking relentlessly, but if he lost, his subordinates would be unable to use their powers because Tsuchigumo's fear was too great. Growing bored, Tsuchigumo decided to leave and find better prey. After quickly fixing his finger, Riku was not going to give up and lose in a place like this. After all, he was a commander. Tsuchigumo was puzzled as to why he couldn't defeat Riku. However, Riku was still in his human form and unable to continue fighting, so he eventually fell unconscious. Riku was relieved to be alive. Haguro Gisun approached Riku as a child, horrified to see that his father had been with a human. She told him that the curse of the fox would never leave, and Nan's bloodline would eventually fail. She tried to stab young Riku, but his father intervened and was stabbed instead. He ran away and saw his mother crying, wondering what had happened to her. In another moment, he found himself fighting Tsuchigumo, but his sword wasn't hurting him. It felt like a nightmare. Riku woke up to find Juki next to him, who had brought him there to train. Riku wanted to fight Tsuchigumo, but before he could leave, Juki's fear enveloped him. The fear was so intense that Riku started to panic. Riku could dodge and cut through the opponent's fear, but that was the limit. Strength alone wouldn't guarantee victory. He needed to do two things. First, become stronger than Nuran and himself. Someone from behind told him he wouldn't understand. Actual combat was the only way. Juki ordered Riku to draw his sword and master the technique fitting for the Lord of 100 Demons. Before Riku could question him, he was attacked. Meanwhile, Haguro Juzun broke the last seal. Riku was overwhelmed by Juki's immense fear. Juki told Riku to cut through his fear and strengthen it. He explained that the strength of the parade depended on its supreme commander. To build an unbeatable night parade, Riku needed to be strong. That's when the power would return to him. He had to surpass both his grandfather and himself. However, there was a problem. He was still mostly human. Juki's training required him to accept his identity as a human. The strongest era of the Nura clan was when his father, who was also half human, ruled. Riku needed to let go of the idea that humans were weak and accept who he was becoming. Becoming strong was the second thing he needed to do. Suddenly, he was attacked by the same person who told Juki to fight him. Riku tried his best to overcome the two powerful yokai, but facing two opponents was too much, and he collapsed. And the other man was about to finish him off because he was too weak, but Juki stopped him, saying it was not part of their deal. When Riku woke up, Zen was by his side, healing his wounds with special ointments. Zen told him he was there to help him recover from the grueling training. Riku apologized for being weak, which earned him a smack from Zen. As the Supreme Commander, Zen could do whatever he wanted. He also mentioned that Juki would be back for training as soon as the sun rose. Riku wondered what the two techniques were. Zen shared a story about his family, how they fought alongside the Nura family in battles, spreading their poisonous wings for them. He then showed Riku his beautiful yet venomous wings, which left Riku in awe. This was his fear, and he wanted to use those wings to fight for Riku. Riku felt grateful for Zen and his encouraging words, which inspired him to improve. When the sun came up, Juki waited for Riku to return from the forest. Though Juki was skeptical and tempted to run away, Riku showed up, determined as ever. That night, after tough training, the only thing on his mind was the sword that could touch Tsuchigumo. Training only took place in the morning when Riku was in his human form, but suddenly, the cabin filled with lesser yokai. At first they thought it was early training, but they quickly realized it was something else. Riku realized something was wrong. The yokai were there to kill him. They attacked, but he cut through their fear, easily defeating most of them. Riku told Zen to run away, but Zen insisted on standing with him and fighting. After a heated discussion, Riku agreed to let him stay. Juki, on his way to the cabin, thought about Riku. He knew Riku had grasped Neuron's essence in Tono, which is why he had defended himself from a fatal injury in his fight with Tsuchigumo. However, Riku still hadn't discovered his true self. He had forgotten how adaptable humans could be. Juki, who was once human, understood that Riku needed to hide what he thought was a weakness. He recognized that trusting others would make him stronger. Back at the cabin, Riku was exhausted. There were too many strong yokai. Zen, eager to help, spread his poison wings. The power from the wings infused Riku's sword, making it vibrate with intense energy. With one swing, Riku's sword caused the entire cabin to explode. Juki, nearby, was shocked to see Riku's fear. The enemy began to fall like flies. Riku asked Juki if this was the technique he had been talking about. Zen, who was weak after using his power, remembered his father's words to spread his wings for the night parade of 100 demons. This was the power of the Nura clan. Riku had unlocked something important: trust others to gain their trust in return and obtain power. This was the hidden technique of the Lord of the Night Parade of 100 Demons, called Equip. The Tono members waited for the next move. Though severely wounded, seeing Riku approach them gave them renewed strength. Owawa was being held captive by Tsuchigumo, who wanted to face Riku again. Riku entered with a bang, disappearing and reappearing behind Owawa to rescue her. He told Tsuchigumo that this time he was going to kill him. Owawa was on the verge of tears. She wanted to be useful too. She refused to step back and instead vowed to protect him. She didn't want to witness what had happened to him in their last battle. Riku told her she didn't need to protect him anymore, but he needed her strength, heart, and desire. She entrusted all of them to him. Riku gained strength, which multiplied, and he challenged Tsuchigumo. Riku's sword now held the power of ice, thanks to Owawa. With one swipe, he chopped off Tsuchigumo's fingers. The ice began to spread across his arm, destroying it. This technique was called equipping Red Plum under the snow. Tsuchigumo realized that if he didn't get serious, he could be killed by the sword. He isolated Riku by creating a barrier around him, wanting Riku all to himself because after hundreds of years, Riku was the only opponent who could match him in battle. Zane and Owa jumped in to help, but Tsuchigumo mocked Riku, saying he had only 3 out of 100. He was wrong though. 3 more joined Riku, Ataku, Amiso, and Ashima. The Tono members would become Riku's strength too. Riku was grateful for their help, but since he didn't know Aima's fear, she couldn't lend hers yet. Itaku attacked alone to give the others time to explain the situation. Riku was amazed by Itaku's skills and wanted to learn how to equip his fear. Itaku, not used to being in someone else's shadow, didn't fully trust Riku at first. However, Riku showed him he had mastered the skill that Itaku had taught him in Tono village. Realizing Riku's potential, Itaku agreed to become his ally. Meanwhile, Tsuchigumo, now serious and no longer joking, began generating electricity with his body. He swung his hand at Riku to crush him, but Riku jumped, and with Itaku's scythe, slashed through his body. Tsuchigumo was cut in half, and his fear began to fade away. Everyone was shocked. In her castle, Hegar was preparing for the birth of her child when she was interrupted by a noise. She ordered her minion to check it out, but it was unnecessary because Nuran, in his true form, walked straight in. Hagar attacked him with her tail, but he pinned her down with his sword. Nuran asked if she had killed the second heir, and she just smirked, saying that darkness would rule the world again, and that anyone she killed was of little importance to her. Nuran told her that taking her down in his old age was too much for him, so he entrusted his grandson to finish the job of killing her. Just then, he was stabbed in the back by one of her loyal followers. Other demons started to appear, and Nuran had no chance of survival, but Karasu Tengu appeared just in time to save him. On the other hand, Tsuchigumo told Riku that he hadn't been brought to his knees since before. He was the mysterious Kyoto yokai. Everyone had been talking about a yokai and a human who had ruled over darkness a millennium ago. He was also an onmoji. Tsuchigumo stitched his half-slit face and said he wanted to sleep until Nuro was born before leaving. Riku had won, but it didn't feel that way because a storm was brewing above them. Kadaru told his demons to search for Nuran, who could have gone far with his injuries. He then informed Josie, Hagar Jean's advisor, about her labor. Kidaru learned that River Street was occupied by the night parade of 100 demons, led by Riku, their supreme commander. Suddenly, the castle where Hagar Xizum was residing collapsed under a giant mass. Hagar sat atop it, repeating that she could feel her son. The giant mass took the shape of a newborn baby. The son of pure evil was about to be born, and Josie was excited about it. Everything was going smoothly for her. Long ago, alongside humans, there was darkness, but humans could no longer live beautifully. They were tainted by their true nature. The dark creatures had been betrayed by them, so she decided to fill the world with something pure black without a speck of impurity. Black like her hair, eyes, and clothes. She instructed her servants to protect the newborn, who needed protection. This meant Nuro could not fight yet. He needed to be complete, as he was originally human. This was Riku's chance to confront Hogarth-Zine. When he came face to face with her, his worst nightmare came true. It was she who had killed his father. She recognized Naran and questioned why those of his bloodline interfered with her plan to create a world where yokai would reign supreme. Riku asked if that was why she killed his father. Haunted by Naran's face, she didn't understand why Riku, armed with thousands of blades, was so strong. Tsuchigumo told Hagar to fight Riku, as their battle seemed destined, and offered to babysit Nuru in the meantime. Riku and Hagar clashed, and she quickly saw why Kimoru had lost to him. With a single move, she destroyed Riku's swords without them even touching her. Kiro appeared and told Riku to create an opportunity to get close to Hagar and then release him. If Riku struck Hagar, it would damage all 9 of her tails, allowing him to stab her with Nira Maro. However, this would cost Riku his life, and he was prepared to make that sacrifice. Riku lunged to attack with his 1,000 swords, but Hagar destroyed them again with her tails. Taking this chance, Riku got close and stabbed her in the heart. But instead of harming her, the sword merely penetrated her. Even Naran had tried the same tactic before, and Riku couldn't escape her brutal attack. She struck him with the sword of 3 tails, wounding him severely. She tried to stab him again to take his liver for herself, but her mind flashed back to the time she had stabbed Naran. Riku made her miss by stopping her sword with his bare hands. Hagar was impressed by his skill and ability to evade, but she intended to take his blood and liver. Riku asked when she had turned into Hagar Jusun, remembering her from his childhood when she used to laugh joyfully. He was appealing to the human side of her. Hagar had been reincarnated many times into human bodies, so Riku knew there was a part of her that might remember her childhood. Riku told her about the time he saw her among the falling petals, causing her to have another flashback that terrified her. She had been reincarnated for thousands of years, so his words should mean nothing to her. Hagar resumed attacking Riku, stronger than him. She noticed he was losing power quickly and pierced him with the spear of 4 tails, pinning him down. With him unable to move, she could not use his fear against her. While watching him in a vulnerable state, she remembered the face of a 5-year-old boy. The debris from the giant mass revealed her memories, freezing her in fear. She was shaken by the appearance of her child. It was too late, as Nura was born, shocking everyone. Riku was not done talking, but Hagar focused only on her son. Their battle had turned into a mere show before the birth of her child. Every time she was reincarnated, she thought of her child, but her wish had never been fulfilled. 400 years ago, she was close to her son, but Naran had ruined it for her. So that memory fueled her rage, and she struck Riku again. Riku called out for his father, and a fragment of that memory came alive in the debris. Hagar's Zun was once again petrified. Yura seized the moment to use her Shikami Hagon and blasted Hagar just like Kyoto had harnessed the power of the ancient gods. Yura performed a similar spell that bound Hagar, immobilizing her. Riku took this opportunity to slash at her body. As she saw Naran, her father, in front of her, she began to cry. The body she had used was just a vessel, and the true Hagar Zun emerged. Her head began to ache because this body was supposed to be perfect. She questioned Jizo about what he had done to resurrect her. It became clear that Jizo was behind everything, and Hagar had been dancing to his tune all this time. She felt herself fading away. Everyone watched closely for the next move. Riku held Hagar's vessel, his sister's body, in his arms. Se, who was also Nuro, appeared as a man with long golden hair and pure golden eyes. She was overjoyed to see him and held him close. However, he betrayed her, throwing her into hell through a portal. He thanked her for the 1,000 years she had given him to walk his path. He was her sun, her light. Darkness could only cast a shadow when the light was behind it. Now Riku could move forward as the true lord of the night parade of 100 demons. He looked at the city with disgust, wanting to cleanse it by destroying it completely and rebuilding Kyoto. So Riku was furious with Nuru's actions, first killing his mother and then playing with them. To Riku, a man who had died 1,000 years ago, had no right to be in this world. He placed his sister down and prepared to confront Nuru. Riku's army tried to stop him, knowing that defeating Nuru alone was impossible, but Riku ignored them and charged forward with his sword. Unfortunately, Nuru stopped the Niramaru's sword with just the tip of his finger, easily shattering it into tiny pieces. Nuru recognized Riku as our son but deemed him not strong enough. He swung his sword down to strike Riku, but his sister intervened. Nuru said her pity came from false memories and attempted to strike again, but Naran quickly took Riku to safety. He asked the others to buy him some time so he could check something. The most powerful Onmoji had been resurrected and stood in front of Nuru like a barrier. Riku asked Naran if this girl was his sister, but he denied it, saying the scheme was deeper than he had thought. He explained that her name was Yamabuki Otomo and she had been the wife of Ran. Centuries ago, when Ran was alive, he brought her to the Nura mansion, announcing that he intended to marry her. She was beautiful and graceful, happy to marry the second heir despite the challenges. Ran's glory days began and lasted long, but the curse of the fox prevented their clan from growing. As a result, Ran and Riku were the children of a Heihachi and a human. The fox curse did not account for this possibility. For 50 years, Otomo could not produce an heir and blamed herself. One day she disappeared, leaving behind a Yamabuki rose and a poem that Ran read before his death. The poem spoke of her infertility, how the Yamabuki rose blooms but bears no fruit. She left the world to wither but heard a voice in the pitch-black void. It was a soul rebirth. Essentially, she was Yamabuki Otomo. Before his rebirth, Nuru had been in hell. In every era shrouded in darkness, there had been many times when Hagar's son could have given birth, but almost every time she was crushed by the Nura family. Nuru could not be resurrected until Ran was defeated. Sonato, Jizo's father, who had also been killed by Ran, sought revenge. They devised a wicked plan through Jizo's illusionary fear to create a girl who was supposedly Ran's daughter with Otomo by using Nuru's soul rebirth technique. They aimed to succeed. Sonato gave the girl false memories of being Ran's daughter so she could become Hagar Xene's vessel and kill Ran one stone, two birds. The girl explained to Riku and the others that after hearing the voice, she realized she had become a young girl. False memories were embedded in her, allowing her to easily convince 5-year-old Riku that she was his sister. Ran, hesitant at first, took her hand, making it one of her happiest days. But as Riku was distracted by something behind a bush, Ran saw the Yamabuki flowers and began to recite his wife's poem. Something triggered within the little girl. She grabbed a blunt sword and stabbed Ran. Right after killing him, she realized what she had done and began to cry tears of regret. Blood Jizo, who saw everything happen, laughed at the woman pretending to be a daughter she could never have. She had killed the one she loved and then became a vessel for Hagar Xene. But now it was time to end all this. Riku turned to Nuro, who attacked him without moving. Nuro declared it was just the start of a world where humans and Agakashi would unite, destroying the chaos. Darkness would rule over light. Nuro asked if he had once been human. Nuru smiled, saying that after 1,000 years he had finally been resurrected in this form and no longer needed a human vessel. He now stood at the top of darkness. Naran told him that his son and grandson, who were human and Ayakashi, were his pride and joy. He promised to end Nuru's bloodline. Riku's army backed him up, but Nuru glowed like the sun, casting bright light that destroyed everything in its path. Many weaker Ayakashi fell, but the stronger ones stood firm. Riku ordered his night parade to trust their fear with him. Naran handed another sword to Riku, as his Niramaru had been destroyed. For thousands of years, Nuru had hoped his mother would destroy the Nura clan, which always stood in their way. Now it was up to him to finish the job. Riku rushed to attack, followed by his night parade. The sword he used was small, but his sheer will was enough to get close. However, Nuru's sunlight acted as a barrier, causing Riku to fall back. On the ground, Riku pointed his red sword at the ground, which started to burn with great power. Even Naran could not rise. But Riku emerged from the flames like a true king, and asked everyone again to equip him as he moved toward the source of the blazing fire. This was the mighty night parade of 100 demons. Like a storm, they closed in on Nuru. Riku broke the barrier with all his strength and attacked Nuru. For the first few blows, Nuru dodged, but as their swords clashed, a huge blast occurred. As the dust settled, Nuru had vanished. They celebrated their victory. Later, Riku and Naren found themselves under a beautiful tree, with Ryan there too. Riku tried to sleep, but his father warned him not to, saying he might catch a cold. Naren told Riku he was now going to lead the Nura clan and become the third heir. After the whole Kyoto ordeal, the night parade returned to the Nura mansion. Naran addressed the council, announcing that after discussions among the top executives of the clan, Riku would be the commander. Riku told the council that as the third heir, he would not tolerate harm to humans or breaking the honor code. He urged them to be the kind of Ayakashi that never loses fear. This was the kind of organization he intended to lead the third